a minute. We are live at the moment.
Yes, we are.
And if you share my broadcast to any place to your own profile, I'm going to share it to ICTPA.
Yeah, I've shared it. I've shared the link already to my personal LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
But if you share it to the ICTPA company page, that would be good.
I'll be sharing it to the 1 minute ICTPA live.
I like these casual encounters. You know, they're really a lot better than the formalized process of having an agenda and talking about this for 10 minutes and this for 5 minutes. It's better. It's nice and relaxed. It's laid back. It's great. Just the way I like my change management approach.
Yeah. And okay, I have shared it on my Facebook, and if anyone wants, Karunesh, if you want to share it over there, your friends will also be able to view it. We already have 8 viewers. So, hello everyone. My name is Mohammad Toosy. Most of you know me, and I would like to start by introducing you to some of the professionals which I have requested to join. I would start with Tughral because he's on the right. And Tughral has a nice blend of change management and practice and theory. He's studied back in Warwick. He studied change management. Since then, he does apply that in his job. He's worked in Europe. He's worked in Africa. He's worked in Pakistan too, and Asia too, different countries in Asia. Have you worked in have you worked in US too?
No, I studied there.
Okay, you studied there. Yeah, he studied. And other than Warwick and GIK, he's also a graduate from MIT. Then I'll come to Karunesh Parsad. Karunesh Parsad is, how should I actually introduce him? He's been into change management since a long time. And the interesting year is been nearly 20 years since he's a master black belt. And I'm really happy that he's joined ICTP Asia, because that actually gives more depth to the change, the Lean Six Sigma part of ICTP Asia. That actually gives much more depth. And one thing, and I would actually be sharing his company page on the comment section, is that he also has a placement type business for change management and Lean Six Sigma, and that is across the world. And Ron, well, he's been into change management. I mean, I'll have to say that he's been into change management since before I was born. It wasn't called change management back then, but whatever it was called, it was still change management. So I would like to open it all for everyone. And ICTPA, if anyone doesn't already know ICTPA is it's a new an organization which is being formed, and virtually it's already there. It will be hopefully incorporated soon, and it's spread in 14 different countries, and we have country representatives from from 12 countries. And I think Ron wants to say something. Ron, I can't hear you. Ron, you're mute.
Sorry, we might have another country soon. Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm working on it at the moment. So
yeah, I'm also hoping that, and I think that's going to be good for us. The more we have, the better it is. So, Ron, do you want to actually? Tughral, what do you want to say about change management? What's change management in your idea?
Well, so really, I mean, very simple. It's very obvious as well. I mean, you're an organization A, at a certain point, working in a certain way with deployment of certain infrastructure, hardware and software. and you're moving towards point B. And that point B is in the future, and you have a certain idea of what you want the organization to not only look like but behave like. And what lies between A and B is really that change management bit, where you're taking the organization from this point to that point. And in my experience, because I've done a lot of change management, I've been working on the side of digitization pretty much since I left GIK, and then the remaining 20 years or so of my career. I've seen that this is where most of the projects, the big projects, actually fail. Because we plan for just about everything else. We've got very elaborate project plans for implementation, but what we forget to do is think about ourselves as organisms, as living, breathing human beings who are brought together, in an artificial structure called an organization, and we forget that that's really where the Achilles heel of change lies, and how you manage people. So I mean, in brief, that's my response.
Can I just interject there? That's a great introduction to change management, Tughral. Great. What I have a concern about still today about what people consider change management is, because there is still too much focus on the technical side of projects, and there is very little, if any, sometimes focus on the people side of change. And at the end of the day, regardless of what technology you are implementing, be AI, machine learning, whatever, RPA, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, there are people involved in the process somewhere, and they have to end what they're doing. They have to go through a period of transition, and then they have to start something new. The ending is a difficult thing for them, because, let me use an old phrase, we've always done it this way. That much used phrase. So people have to unlearn what they know. Then they go through this really messy bit, which is the transition, where nothing is stable, where everything is flying around all over the place. And then all of a sudden, at go live, you've got the new beginning. This is how we are now going to work from now on. And I'd just come back to saying that there is still too much focus on, one, technical implementation, two, project management, as opposed to change management. I rest my case.
Yeah, Karunesh, what would you like to
No, I'm glad
that
this is the discussion which is happening, because exactly the same concern I have. I talk to people and they literally bucketize the whole change management sometime into something which the organization might have been doing. And I hear about three different sides or three different aspects of that. One is where people talk about change management being the typical ERP implementation, and therefore bring in some change management so that people can adapt that. So that's one way of looking at it. The second one is where there are a lot of communication guys who claim that they are doing change management because they are communicating. Mostly one-way communication, but it's a very unfortunate thing that people think of that as a change management intervention. Third one is, you might remember a lot of people in the shop floor, factories, who are doing version control of the documentation. They also refer to the work that they do as change management.
Yeah, the configuration management people.
Exactly. I look at this, my own definition, the way I have set up the company that I run, it's called Change et al. And Change et al. Is based on the three principles. And I always talk about that, saying change management needs to combine three areas, which is people, process, and culture. When it comes together, then only you can actually manage change properly. So that's my philosophy, and that's what I work with. But great to see that we are on a similar page, and Tughral and Ron exactly the same views. So thank you very much for that.
So can I just say one more thing? One of the problems with change management is that organizations do not recognize that they need change management until later on, after they've started their implementation. And one of the problems is when they do realize but they have to bring a person who understands the people side of change. If they realize they have to bring them in, it's usually a little bit too late. And the problem there becomes that the change management, whoever that might be, is continuously chasing their tail, they're firefighting, they're doing all sorts of different things. And then all of a sudden they get the blame at the end for not being able to do what they were supposed to do. It is imperative nowadays, and this has been going on for years. Yeah, not since I started change management, by the way, Toosy, not that long, but it's been going on for years, where organizations do not recognize the need for change management right up front. Yeah, and my view is that change managers should be brought in even at the design stage, even at the kickoff stage, right at the beginning, right. Forget all of this. So, the project plan's done, and we've done this. We've had the meetings. We've scoped everything. We've got the business. We've got the business benefits profile done and everything. Yeah. Now we'll bring the change manager in. No, right at the beginning. Right at the beginning. Sorry, I rest my case again.
Okay. So, and there's a huge gap. Ron, and Karunesh, I would like to actually ask you something, because you actually are operating in a market way, different from Pakistan. And well, in Pakistan, we're still actually trying in the learning phase about change management. How is Singapore in change management? How is the depth in India, if you have exposure of India, change management in India? And how is it, how do you compare it with Europe and America? Because you talk all over the world. Karunesh is a very distinctive profile in one thing which I recently found out. He's even worked with Eric Ries. So yeah, so he has a very distinctive profile. So how would you actually think it's different?
So I'll not define it by region, first of all, because each country, each region has its own companies which are very different. So I'll define it by the countries and the companies originating from that country. That's number one. Then comes the angle of the people and the local culture. Yeah. So when we talk about change management, one of my biggest frustration, and that's where I share the platform with Ron and you, is that a lot of Western technique or Western change management philosophy is being imposed on countries where it may be very different than what they might have done in the other countries. So that's one problem. Second problem is that when we talk about Europe, Europe has a lot of large multinationals originating from there. So think of Germany and Netherlands, very large companies originating. Philips and Siemens are coming from there. ABB is coming from there. A lot of pharma companies are based out of Switzerland and Basel, which are big companies. They may have a different style, but the challenges are same. Challenges are that to be able to take a large organization together in certain direction is a big challenge, and each country. So one of the philosophy I operate with is no one size fits all. We should be absolutely clear about that. And if anybody tries to apply that, it becomes a problem. And a lot of companies from US, if they apply that in US and think that the same thing will apply in the rest of the world, it doesn't work. Europe has a different style than US, but these are the true superpowers where there's a lot of companies originating from, and they try to apply the same thing in Asia, which is also very diverse. Think about India, think about Southeast Asia, which is also, each country is different. Think about China and Japan and Australia. Each one is absolutely different, and no one size fits all, again, within Asia also. So I would say, I worked in Germany, I worked in Belgium, I worked in US, of course, and I continue to do my consulting work also in various countries across the world. I continue to find that those challenges are same. So I go by the fact that let us work on the basic principles, which is people, process, and culture that I propagate, and allow the freedom within the framework for the countries to be able to customize for their needs. So there's a large framework, but unless you allow the freedom within that framework, it will not work. And that's what I've seen that works very well. I was working on some acquisition integrations. I was in Houston, and I did some very large acquisition integration work from the culture point of view. And that's when I started to use the term freedom within framework, because I realized that I was working for a company like GE, which was very, prescriptive in its style. And I said that culture will not, if I'm doing culture intervention in the organization, it will not work if we are going to be so prescriptive. So I find it very interesting the way it's evolving. And your question back to the question to see if we are looking at Asia and you're asking that how is it evolving, I would say it's moving very fast. Asia is moving very fast, and it will actually move much ahead. You look at some of the companies coming from Asia who have become much more agile, much more faster. And today's change management is all about how quick you are, how fast you are, how agile you are.
Yeah.
And if companies don't do that, we have a problem there.
Can I just make a point there about agile? This is another bugbear of mine, is agile. Yeah.
Okay.
People are pushing agile. Do it this, do it like this, agile, agile, agile. As change managers, we have always had to be agile. Quick, nimble, fleet of foot, thinking bang, because so many things happen during a change project. You have to think on your feet. So all this, I won't say what I think, all this stuff around agile OCM and stuff like that doesn't do anything for me, I'm afraid. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a straight talking kind of guy.
Yeah, I know that.
It doesn't do anything for me. Yeah. Because I think, as Karunesh pointed out, I have a favourite phrase: horses for courses. Yeah. And that's what it's all about. Yeah. Because you can go into any organisation and they are different than the previous organization you've been in, yeah? Regardless of what country it is, whether it's Europe, whether it's America, whether it's Asia, whatever. They're all different. They all have different internal cultures. And don't get me on talking about company culture, because I don't think there's such a thing. I think there's a high-level company culture which the C-suite think they have, then there's a mid-level company culture which the mid-level managers have, and then there's the operational culture, which is where it really happens. So very quickly on the company culture thing. But it's still frightening that there is a tendency for this one size fits all. And you have, and I'm going to mention them, the ACMP in the States, who have their CCMP accreditation certification. You've got the CMI in Australia, who have accreditation. You have ProSci, who have their certification. You have the APMG, who do their certification. Yeah, they mean nothing. I'm sorry, those certifications to me mean nothing, because, as I said, when you go into, maybe that's a bit strong. They don't mean nothing.
That's a bit too strong.
They start you off in the process, okay? Because if you take whatever course you take, whether it be ACMP, CMI, or you get accredited or certified, and you go armed with all your tools and techniques, yeah, that you've learned, and you go into an organization and you say, right, I'm going to do this. Well, actually, that doesn't work in this organization. So I'm going to try that. Actually, that doesn't work either. So you have a problem where you've been taught all these nice tools and techniques, but when you get into the coal face of change, they don't necessarily work. You have to understand, and to come back to what Karunesh said about culture, you have to understand the culture of the organization, the people, and the processes as well. Sorry, I apologize for being a bit too straight in my talking.
Yeah, that's a pretty common thing in Brits. I can't blame you for that. Yeah, it's I would actually say that, personally, I would say that it's nice to have certifications. It's not necessary. It gives you a basis to be recognized. You can be recognized with other ways too, but you can be even better without a certification. I mean, if you do a degree and you don't, or you have a certification, you have a degree and you're not following it, or you're not even using the spirit of that knowledge, I mean, it's not going to do much for you. but it's a good thing. I personally think it's a good thing. That's somewhere where we differ, slightly differ.
It's a good grounding. It's a very
It's
good thing
ground
to have to start you off. Yeah. But I think that the real stuff is when you get, as I said, to the cold face of change, when you start learning what change is all about, and you're dealing with real people on a day-to-day basis, and their
that's
fears,
for every management thing.
Their fears, their anxiety, their fear, and so forth. So yeah, you're right.
That's for every management, and every management degree, not only change management, not even project management, not or anything. Everything is going to be when you have your hands dirty, then you're actually going to find. I mean, the real thing is not while you're training. The real thing is that when the first bullet is fired. That's what they say. So same goes with change management. So Ron, could you actually please let the people know, because this is going live. We have 20 people watching at the moment. Hopefully more people will join. But once actually it's gonna stay on Facebook, so people can watch it even after after the broadcast finishes. So could you actually please explain about your survey and why did you actually initiate, and just talk about the journey of ICTP?
Very briefly. I moved to Thailand in 2011, and I came here family reasons. I like the climate and so forth, and obviously I wanted to continue doing my change management work here. I found that it was difficult to get into change because every time I applied for a role, people said, "Do you have experience of Asia?" And I said, "No, I haven't." Okay, so I was passed over. Excuse me. So in 2013, I thought I need to understand this. I need to understand the culture a little bit more, the Asian culture in relation to change management. So as a result of a group discussion on a group I had called Change in Asia at the time, I kicked off a survey across 12 different Asian countries, and it was called the cultural dynamics of practicing change and transformation in Asia. How did country culture impact? How does country culture impact change? Yeah, what is it about country culture that has an impact on change? We came up with a number of different dynamics, and they were hierarchy, relationships, indirectness, face, responsibility, consensus, groups, etc. Yeah, and we surveyed, I think it was about 100, and I got 170 different responses back from across, I think it was 12, 13 different countries. And yes, it was a fairly low participation rate, but after a few people participated from each country, the actual results were becoming very consistent in what they were saying. So I did that, and I published a survey. And it kind of got me really interested in it. Actually, I think it got me a couple of roles. I got a job in Singapore, actually, Karunesh. So I left it, and then I had a thought. And I thought, okay, it's been about towards the end of last year, I had a thought. It's been about 7 years-ish since I did that last survey in 2013. I wonder if anything has changed since then. So I thought, okay, I'll reissue the survey. I did a bit more research, and we changed some of the dynamics slightly and changed their name, but not too much. So I sent out, I got obviously a bigger database of people in the last 7 years. So I sent out all the requests for participation again across 14 countries. And I had over 210 replies, which was a lot more than last time. But again, again, the results, once they started coming in, were starting to become very consistent. So although the likes of Taiwan and Korea had fairly low participation rates, the actual results were very consistent. So I got it back, and what I did was I then compared the the 2020 results with the 2013 results, and actually found that, just looking at my my results here, that 2 out of the 3 original dynamics that came out top in the survey of 2013 were reflected in the new survey. The one that wasn't, and that was hierarchy and responsibility. The one that wasn't was relationships, but I didn't measure relationships in the 2013 survey. So it was interesting that that came out on top, okay? So 2 out of the 3 was still the same. And I kind of thought, well, things haven't really moved on. But then I looked at awareness, and change awareness was one of the top 3 dynamics that came out on top in the 2013 survey, but that didn't come out in the top 3 of the 2020 survey. So I thought, well, maybe something has changed. If awareness has gone down, that kind of means that change awareness, that the awareness for the need to change is more prominent now than it was in 2020. Great, okay. So I compared overall, I compared regions of Asia, I won't go into detail about those, and then I compared country by country and country against overall. So as we are talking about Pakistan, okay, let me talk about Pakistan specifically in relation to the survey. The 3 top dynamics in 2013 were exactly the same as the 3 top dynamics in 2020. Hierarchy, responsibility, sorry, tell a lie. 2 of them were exactly the same. Relationships was different, it was top. So 2 of them were exactly the same, okay? In which was the hierarchy and responsibility. So again, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, things, you know, they're kind of the same. But what I also did, as I said, I compared the Pakistan results with the overall results, and in fact, the Pakistan results were relationships, hierarchy, and responsibility, and the overall Asia results were relationships, hierarchy, and responsibility. So the Pakistan results mirrored the overall Asia results. Okay, so basically, I also related in my survey to the stuff that Geert Hofstede did, who sadly now passed away, but he did a lot of country culture insights, and if I just take maybe one of Hofstede's insights, okay, which is individualism as an example. Pakistan had a really low score for individualism of 14 out of 100. And that indicated that close long-term commitments to the member group, be that a family, extended family, or extended relationships, loyalty is paramount. Society fosters strong relationships where everyone takes responsibility for fellow members, etc., of their group. In collectivist societies, offence leads to shame and loss of faith. So individualism is kind of not prevalent in Pakistan. So that kind of indicates the reason for relationships coming out as the top dynamic in Pakistan. Yeah. So doing the Hofstede stuff and looking at my stuff that I found both at 2013 and 2020, there was a direct relationship. Talking about relationships, there was a direct relationship between the 2, and it was really interesting. So that kind of, in a nutshell, is why I did the survey in 2013, why I repeated it in 2020, and then drilling down into the results for Pakistan. I obviously did the same for Singapore, but I don't have the results to hand here. But I think, just a minute, I have, just bear with me.
Could you actually just shed something?
Yeah.
How similar or different were the results for India, Bangladesh?
For India and what, sorry?
For India and Bangladesh, how similar were the results, or how different were the results?
Okay, Let me
You
have
might
a
not
look.
have it at the moment. Maybe it just
I
came
know
in your
I've got
mind.
it. I've got it. Bangladesh and
Okay.
India had two of the three dynamics. Bangladesh and India had hierarchy, responsibility, relationships and hierarchy, as did Bangladesh. Okay.
Okay.
So 2 out of 3 were the same.
So 2 out of 3 are the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the only, and this is a good one, the only one that was really didn't have any of the three, didn't have relationships, didn't have hierarchy, or didn't have responsibility, was guess where? Thailand.
Wow.
Yeah. They still had change awareness as one of their top dynamics. Yeah.
Okay.
And that kind of indicated to me that things hadn't moved on a lot here in Thailand. Yeah. They didn't have any of the three top dynamics. So there we go. That in a nutshell, that was the reasons for the surveys. Was that okay?
Yeah, nice. And Tughral, would you like to comment on this?
Yeah,
What's
I
your
think
experience?
that was actually. Thank you, Ron, for sharing that. That was very insightful, and it kind of matches. I mean, I was listening to Ron and Karunesh earlier, and it sort of matches what I have also studied on this side. So we tend to have three views of the organization, and the most visible of those views is the organization chart, right? So you go to any organization's HR and you say, what does your organization look like? What is your organization about? They'll probably at some stage pull out an org chart and put it in front of you. That'll show you how departments are split, who's reporting to whom, et cetera, what their titles are. But there's a layer below that, and that's the cultural view of the organization, which is something that both Karunesh and Ron alluded to earlier. And that's really how people behave within the organization. And as somebody very wise once said to me that a culture is a set of answers to a set of problems a group of people face, right? So cultures tend to be very, very dependent on the context in which they're faced. But then there's the most powerful layer is actually at the bottom, on which the culture layer is built, and then you've got the organization layer somewhere. I mean, the top layer, the org chart, is almost, I would say, is almost useless when it comes to change management. The most powerful one at the bottom, and that's the political view of the organization. Now, that's where the power structures within an organization are defined, and this is invisible. You never walk into an organization and people pull out the political chart of an organization and say, well, this is how people are aligned, or this is the person who has the most influence within the organization. But really, that's the one that I think is key, because what you need to identify are the sets of little tribes which are sitting within these organizations, and what their turf is, and what are they trying to actually defend when it comes to change permeating through the organization. So if you come in, I mean, the very first job that I had was with I don't know if I should name the organization, but it was as a change management driver. We were implementing an SAP ERP solution in the organization. And, very quickly we realized that, look, we've laid out the entire project plan. We figured out how this should work. But the guy who's managing the engineering warehouse keeps complaining. He doesn't turn up for the interviews when we need him to. He doesn't provide the documents that we need him to. And, the whole project is slowing down. And what it really required was going and sitting with him and understanding the world from his point of view. And you realize that that guy, that gentleman who had put in about 30 odd years of his life into that factory, had a lot to lose. And he was looking at this thing called, the ERP that everybody was talking about, and how it was going to fundamentally change his job and take away from him the self-worth, the sense of self-worth that he had, or how he defined himself, because we define ourselves with our jobs. And so, without really taking those human elements into account of what a change is actually going to mean for those people whose lives we're actually impacting, I don't think change can work at all. And that's why I'm not surprised when relationships and hierarchies come on top. Because in Asia, as we know, we have, in cultural language, there's the masculine and the feminine. And in Asian countries, we tend to have more masculine cultures. And these are very, very hierarchical cultures where power structures matter a lot. There are certain studies in aviation available where crashes have happened, planes have crashed, and when investigations were carried out, the captain had missed something, and it was picked up by the first officer. And the first officer is raising the alarm, but he's doing it in such a polite way that the captain is failing to register the urgency of the situation. And he shuts him down. The first officer shuts up. The plane crashes. They fly into a mountain. And that's how dangerous a hierarchical structure can be, because it becomes, it's like you're flying into a mountain, change is needed, whether it's in the direction of the plane itself or the altitude. But until your top layer has given you permission, you're not able to communicate that. So I think that's the danger that we.
That's all... my mother. Sorry.
Oh, hello. But that's the danger that we're all faced with right now, and especially in the world now, which is more turbulent than ever before. We've got chaos happening all around us because of digitization. We've got chaos now ensuing because of a global recession kicking in, and every organization needs change. It needs to work itself out what the new change is going to be like. And I'm personally worried that we just don't have the mindset. We have organizational leaderships which are stuck in certain entrenched models, and they're not going to be able to let go.
You're right, Tughral, because the hierarchical issue is it's an ingrained cultural characteristic. Yeah, it's been like that for hundreds and thousands of years. Yeah, so you have, dare I say it, says he with all his grey hair, the older generation, yeah, who have been entrenched in this hierarchical culture for so long, don't want to let go of their power base. Yeah, because that's what it feels like. Yeah, they think if they open up to their employees, and if they let their employees question some of their decisions, they are diminishing they're diminishing their power base. And it will change as the older generation retires and the younger generation come through. But it's the cultural thing, it takes years and years and years for that to happen. It can't happen overnight.
Yeah, and Tughral, sorry, I would like to actually jump in. Tughral would agree, because we worked in the same organization for a while too. And people, I mean, I'm an outspoken person. And I give my opinions. And I consider myself as a knowledge worker, and because of that, I give what I think. I don't toe the line of whatever everyone thinks. I mean, I'll toe the line, which at least initially I would actually give whatever I think, and then that's the different thing. What happens after that? And some people couldn't digest it, and that same reason is because people were not used to such a culture. I mean, in the banking industry, it's more hierarchical. In the software industry, it's not that hierarchical. I mean, in the company which I used to work for in I2C, even a basic person, I mean, at a frontline, even a frontline CSR could question the CEO if in certain things, and if it makes sense, it would be listened to. It was practiced slightly more over there than in the banking industry. So technology industry is much more, I would say, open, and then the other industry. So there's a difference of culture even within Pakistan. There's a difference of culture between different industries. In telco, the way someone would write an email, they would actually give a shut up call to a director. And that would actually make sense if it makes sense. I mean, the hierarchy, the cultural thing, sometimes it doesn't matter. Over there, it doesn't matter. And over in the banking industry, yes, it's very, very, what they used to say is the grade or the designation itself has to be respected, or has to be actually has some value, whether the person in that grade had any value or not. So that, yeah, Ron?
I can understand that grade has to be respected, and I can understand that that people achieve a certain level in an organisation because of the many years they work for the organisation. And grade is a big deal. Size of office is a big deal. So I had to say that. Oh, look at my nice big, yeah. But that shouldn't impact a leader's ability to become part of the change. Just because they have a hierarchical level, just because they're called a CIO, CEO, CTO, you name it, or whatever, or senior SVP or EVP, it shouldn't stop them from getting involved with whatever the change is at a grassroots level. Yeah, and I think that's the big issue, because it's a mindset issue. Yeah, it's all up here. Oh, I've taken years to achieve this position. Why should I go and talk to all these employees down on the shop floor? Why should I bother talking to them about change? Yeah, and it's about, again, I have another phrase: close the book, let me open your mind. Yeah, and that's what it's all about. Forget your position, forget your power base, forget all of that. Start to look at it from the people that matter, the people that are most impacted from the change, because these are the people that keep you in your job. These are the people that matter. These are the people that have to run and have to work with whatever it is you're implementing, be it SAP, ERP, whatever. They are the ones who will make a success of this change.
Yeah, Karunesh, what would you like? Would you like to actually add anything?
No, I think we heard some great views on this. I am completely in agreement with that. So nothing to add further.
Okay.
Hey, great. What's the other phrase? Great minds think alike.
Think alike. Yeah.
I like my phrases. And you have to be careful if, when I start going into song, I start singing, and you have to be very careful.
Yeah. Okay. Ron, can now you can actually slightly start talking about why did you start ICTPA, and could you just go through the journey a bit?
Well, okay. The journey again is very kind of similar to the survey journey, to be honest.
Yeah.
It all started with a Skype conversation with a colleague in the UK, guy called Jyoti Giri, but obviously he hails from Asia. And it was just I can't remember what prompted the Skype conversation, but we had a conversation. And the conversation got round to how is Asia represented in terms of change and transformation, professionalization. So we discussed the Association of Change Management Professionals. We discussed the Change Management Institute. Yeah, and we felt that neither of those bodies, and I'm not criticizing here, by the way, neither of those bodies really catered for a different way. And I know now what the different way is, by the way, the different way that change is practiced in Asia. Okay, like the survey said, relationships, hierarchy, responsibility, etc., etc. So I finished the Skype conversation and I took a step back and I thought, that's interesting. So I then uploaded a video onto LinkedIn, which I called my Sunday Ramble. And I rambled on about what I've just talked about, etc., etc. And I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to issue a survey. As you do, I like my surveys. I'm going to issue a survey and see if there's a level of interest in actually starting something up similar, but not the same as the ACMP and the CMI, specifically for Asia. Okay? So I kicked off a survey. And I put a few posts on LinkedIn, and the post on LinkedIn, one of them had over 5,000 views and so many comments. Yeah, what a great idea! Love it. We're underrepresented, etc., etc. I thought, hey, what a can of worms I've opened up here. You know, I've opened this Pandora's box, and all of this stuff has suddenly come out. So I issued the survey, and the survey came back with some very positive results. I can't remember how many people I surveyed, but it was a significant amount significant amount of people, and the participants was significant as well. But the one thing it didn't do, and it was, I suppose it's my fault because I didn't structure the survey that well, was I didn't feel that it gave me a clear mandate to start developing what is now the Institute of Change and Transformation Professionals Asia, ICTPA. So I resurveyed all of those people that participated in the original survey and actually opened up a new survey to additional people as well. But I structured the survey a lot better than the first one. The results that came back were so positive, it was unbelievable. It was something like 89% of people said, what a great idea. Yeah? That was from the original survey respondents. From the new survey, sorry, it was 79 from the original survey respondents. From the new survey respondents, it was about 85%. And I went, no, what do? I cannot ignore that kind of feedback. Okay, so what did I do? I kicked off as I said, what is now the ICTPA. It's been an interesting journey. It's like any change journey. On the highway of change, hint, hint. That's my company, by the way. It's been an interesting journey. There's been ups and downs. And one of the things I also did, just to, I sent the ACMP and the CMI specific emails asking them to tell me how their offerings, like the ACMP, CCMP, and the CMI's accreditation, how their offerings catered for the different ways change was practiced in Asia. I got replies, but I have to say, and again, this is not a criticism, please don't take it as such, that they were very corporate type replies. We cater for the global change management community, etc., etc., etc. And I kind of thought, nah, okay. I said, okay, I'll take on board what you said.
Yeah, Ron, can I comment over here, if you allow me? I mean, if you are global, and this is my comment on that, if you are global, half of the world is India and China. And you add Pakistan and Bangladesh, that becomes more or less half of the world.
Yeah.
So you can't be global. You can't be global if you're not catering for them.
Well, they have a global presence. They all have chapters.
Yeah.
They have chapters. Okay.
Yeah, they have chapters.
But I'm kind of guessing, and I haven't looked at it into detail, but the chapters they have are fairly, you know.
Yeah,
sorry,
Ron, Karunesh and Tughral could actually relate to where I'm coming from.
Go on, Karunesh.
Because it's not basically ICTPA. It's not basically, this comment is not something which is linked to them. This is their comment that we cater to global, and we don't connect catering to the culture, individual cultural things. This is something which we have heard so many times, and I would say that, I mean, nearly every South Asian and every person from this region would actually think the way I'm actually thinking at the moment, that if you take out South Asia, you take out China, and that's half of the world anyways.
Yeah.
So
they're not. So global is probably a little bit of a misnomer. I think that's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, global. Actually, it's not global because I mean,
it's localized global.
yeah, it's localized global, and it's the we often what happens, and that's something which the research has a bias because most of the research, because it's not coming out from certain countries. Well, now things are changing. That's why the dynamics of the reality of this region isn't coming as much as it should be coming. But hopefully, it's going to change anyways. And the pace of change in Asia is huge. We have 7% growth rate in economies now in Asia. Even when Pakistan's growth rate is bad, it's nearly 4%.
Yeah,
and 4% is considered bad. I mean, that's not happening in the West anymore. Okay, sorry. I had to come out from my hat.
That's okay. And the other thing, just moving on, is that what I've also found is there's been quite a level of interest from individuals outside of Asia. Okay,
Yes.
Asia has a very mobile workforce. India, Pakistan, Singapore, you name it. You've got Asian change and transformation practitioners who practice across the world globally. Yeah, and there is interest from those as well. In fact, some of the survey participants came from some of those, from the US and Canada, Europe. I think a couple from Australia as well. I can't remember. So, I mean, getting back to the journey, the ICTPA journey. So, as I said, it's been a bit up and down, but never mind. We are now in a position, I consider, of strength. We have a extremely good foundation now to drive the ICTPA to its full potential. We have 12, I think you mentioned, out of 14 country representatives there who are very dedicated, and I have to say, I am honoured to be working with them. So Karunesh and Toosy, thank you very much, and the others, and the other guys and gals. And we have a great foundation to work from. Yeah. But obviously, during these trying times, things are going to be slow. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I kind of look at things like that. I always look at the vision, yeah, rather than where we are now. I look at what we're trying to achieve rather than, where we are in the journey. And regardless of what is happening at this time in the world, we still need to drive forward with creating this body, because the number of people that have said they want this to happen is what's driving me to actually create this body. And the one thing I did forget to mention is we also have a very good partner, collaborator with the Asian Institute of Technology here in Bangkok, who have always been very supportive, who were very supportive from the very beginning. I met with them on a couple of occasions, who've been very supportive of helping us to create this body. What that collaboration looks like is yet to be established. We've got some kind of idea of how we can collaborate. And whilst I'm on the subject of academia, we also see a great strength in what we do in affiliating with academia, so universities, business schools, etc., across the region. And what I'm trying to do at the moment, and the other country representatives are trying to do, is trying to identify who the best people are. But again, it's a slow process because the focus is on something totally different at the moment. Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
So I can understand why it's slow, but it gives us a kind of breathing space. It kind of allows us to take a step back and say, are we moving in the right direction? Yeah. And we've got a Zoom conference call on the 6th, have we not, Karunesh?
Yes.
And hopefully the last one we had 8 country representatives. 10 country representatives.
10.
10 out of 12. 10 out of 12. That's good. That's great. Hopefully
Yeah, and
we'll have...
one had to, who was going to join, actually couldn't join because his old colleague had died. So that's understandable. In Asia, I mean, unlike Europe, in Asia, generally the funeral happens very soon. Just like Sardar Hassan Raza, who I invited, and he actually confirmed that he's going to come, but one of his family members died in Ahmedabad. So
I understand that.
Yeah, going from Islamabad to Ahmedabad.
So just coming back, just to finish off my bit about the ICTPA, it will happen. It will happen. Make no doubt about it. Yeah, we're being watched.
Oh yes,
we're being watched closely. I know we're being watched. Yeah, by a number of organisations. I'm not going to say who they are, but we're being watched. And there is an interest in what we're doing.
And not only that, not only the people you're talking about, there's other interest from other people too.
I mean, I get messages on a daily basis. Yeah, I get messages on a daily basis about, what are you doing? I mean, we started off a company page, ICTPA company page on LinkedIn not so long ago, and we had a target. We started off with 100, and then it climbed to 200, then it went to 300, then it went to 400. Within a space of a very short time. The target for the end of March was 500. Unfortunately, we got 481. But it just kind of gives you an idea of, there's a phrase, back to my phrase, from acorns, big oak trees grow.
Oh, yes.
We are just an acorn at the moment, but we will become a big, massive oak tree.
Yeah.
That's it.
And Karunesh, before, would you like to actually talk about how your experience about this journey? I mean, you've been involved since December, if I'm not wrong. So how do you see it?
No, I've been in touch with Ron for quite some time, but not as ICTPA member. And like Ron said, that a lot of people are watching. I've been also watching, and when he reached out saying that why don't we kind of look at this, my thought was immediate that if we need to, make a change, and our viewpoints are very similar, then might as well be part of that and help the journey. So
yes.
Since we were aligned on our thought process, I said there's no point sitting outside and watching. I would rather support the team directly.
Yeah.
And that's about it. So I think it's a great intention, and also a great service to the change management professionals, because there's so many of them sitting in Asia, and we work together on multiple different things. If we are able to provide a support system and collaboration platform, that can really help a lot, and that's what we're trying to do here.
Yes. Tughral, how does that sound to you? I mean, you've actually known about ICTPA because obviously we've talked about it a year ago too, and we've talked about it recently. But now that you've actually talked to, you've talked to Karunesh, you've seen Ron, how do you feel about it?
I think it's addressing a gap that does exist right now in the market. And that gap is really around having a unified approach towards change management, share the ability to share best practices from market to market. I mean, just listening to Ron and Karunesh, I've learned a lot today in the last just one hour about hearing Ron's research.
That's lovely.
And so I think this addresses a very key gap, and I think it's more and more relevant now than ever before, because in the world that we are heading into, there is going to be a need for a lot of change management, whether it's because of the impact of digitization within businesses, or this is something we haven't touched upon, the impact of digital services, digitization of services externally, outside the organization. So for example, you mentioned banks. We've talked a lot about change management within the organization, but there's a lot of change which is happening in the provision of those services as well. And it's all about human behavior. It's all about how your customers have to relearn, have to change their habits, have to be made aware of the benefits and why they should change to a new set of behaviors. So I think there's that impact, and of course, with this the virus which has ravaged the world, I see new business models emerging very quickly. I mean, just look at the fact that Zoom itself has just suddenly gained so much in its market capitalization just in the last 1 week or so, just because of this virus. Look at the fact that all the people who were working together in big offices, in big buildings, are right now sitting in their homes, logging on through remote video technology to connect with their peers. There's a lot of change which is happening, and we don't know where this is going to head. Whether this is the new way of working, whether we find a hybrid. So I think organizations like yours, I think they're addressing a key gap right now. It's very relevant. It's more relevant than it's ever been before. One point that I just wanted to make earlier, and then I'll stop, is that we talked a lot about resistance to change. The most amount of resistance to change, it's the law of inertia, right? So it comes from objects which have great mass. And in the case of organizations, you're talking about these old organizations which have huge revenue streams already. And there is no reason for them, or at least they think so, to change. So they're the ones that will resist the most. The most nimble ones are sitting on the other side of the innovation spectrum. So the big dinosaurs, I mean, for the lack of a better word, they have the least reason to change because they think that the world around them is going to stay like this forever, and things are great. So why should they? And then you've got these other disruptors, the challengers sitting around. These are the ones that are nimble. They'll be pecking away. The world that I see coming ahead, I think you'll see much more of these little guys than you will of the big guys. And so I think the speed of change is just going to accelerate, and I think we should prepare for a world where we have specialists who manage change sitting within organizations, and it can't just be a department or one person. It has to be a mindset which pervades across the manager.
It's a skill set. It's Tughral. It's basically a skill set which everyone. I think every manager needs to have that skill set. If you don't have that skill set, I mean, I don't understand how can you consider yourself a manager. I mean, from that perspective, it's a must-having skill set, and something which everyone needs to learn. I would actually like to talk about my journey too about ICTPA. Slightly.
Before you start, can I just make one point?
Yep.
About people. The problem is people still see change as a single event. Oh, we're implementing this, we're implementing that, we're doing this, we're doing that. It's a single event. It's not a single event anymore. Change. Back to my phrase again. Change is a constant. The only constant is change. And that was Heraclitus in the year 500 BC, just when I started practicing change management. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you actually were a bit before that.
Oh, naughty.
Okay.
Sorry, I interrupted. Carry on, Toosy.
No, it's great to actually know. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just have to drop off now. I've got another meeting lined up.
Okay, Tughral. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining.
Pleasure.
Take care. We'll be in contact.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Yeah. Bye. Okay, so it's the three of us now. I would like to talk about my journey in particular. And my journey also started with Ron's, I would say, survey. And I was one of those who actually said we need a separate one. Because, I mean, I was exposed to Hofstede back in 2003 in University of Surrey. 2004, precisely, because that's when I actually studied international human resource management, and we studied Hofstede and all about that. And I did study my change management from Surrey, strategic change management in the beginning. And that's where my journey actually started for change management too. And it's so starting from that survey once I mean, I wanted to get involved. I didn't know how I would be involved. And interestingly, Ron did actually check other people in Pakistan too, and he chose me to be the country representative. And I've been pretty consistent. I mean, I'm one of the few people who are still there from the beginning. Yeah, thanks, Ron. And the other thing is that I tagged after doing this. I've tagged my own career aligned with ICTPA 2 because I have recently started my change management and Lean Six Sigma consulting, and I've tagged it with this ICTPA, and I consider that I get strength. I get strength from ICTPA 2, and I also, for change management, obviously nearly everyone has a core change management expertise in ICTPA anyways, all the country representatives. And another actually good thing which has happened, and Karunesh, that's you. I mean, I would say that because, I mean, and I quote you quite a lot because even behind you, I mean, or in Pakistan too, it's the, I'm recently developing my training for green belt and my black belt training material. I have the training material, but that's not mine, that's someone else's. Mm-hmm. And I had added, because I had a feel that it doesn't have certain things in it, the traditional thing. Because even when I went to England, they said, okay, the ASQ thing is there, but our thing was more practical than actually more theoretical. And there was a lot of things in the one which I did in England. And that was a XG Master Black Belt too, who trained me in England. So I thought that I should add the latest. I mean, how can you be into Lean Six Sigma without understanding the Lean Startup series? How can you be into Lean Six Sigma without understanding the Lean mindset of Karunesh, could you actually pronounce her name, because I can't pronounce her name. It's Mary Popper Dick, something like that. I mean, I can't pronounce her properly. I just can't pronounce her properly. Maybe once I'm gonna actually come into a call and actually show that name to Ron and ask him, can you actually pronounce it? She's American.
Send it to me and I'll have a look at it.
Yeah. Okay. So if you don't have those type of theories and you don't have those type of practices, what they've actually come up with, you're not doing the recent Lean. Or the recent Six Sigma. It's something which was there maybe 40 years ago or 30 years ago, but I mean, it's evolved too. Not that the other things are not important. It's just that there's some other things which are being missed out. And when I talked to Karunesh told me that he also has the same things in his material, in his training material. So it was reassuring. To me, it's reassuring that I, as a new Master Black Belt, thought of something. I, as a practitioner who actually studies different material associated with the traditional one, came up with the idea that needs to be in my material. And Karunesh, who's a Master Black Belt nearly 20 years now, he also not only thinks that it should be there, it's already in his material, which obviously I haven't seen, but he's told me that he's told me that he already has such things. So that gives more strength. And another thing which would give strength is that if I would have been, let's put it like that, I'm as soon as this thing settles down, I mean, I'm going to be starting ICTP and Toosy Advisory Services, a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt and Black Belt and certification series. I'm going to be starting that. And I actually get strength from people, from Karunesh, because, I mean, I'm not the only one into Lean Six Sigma now. When it started, I was the only one. Now they're two. And the other one is much more experienced than me, which is actually practically, I think it's better because I get more strength. I mean, maybe you don't got that much strength from me, but I get strength from you. So, but hopefully you'll get you would get something from me too, hopefully. But I do get that strength. And the depth of Lean Six Sigma has increased, and the depth of change management is already there. And the beauty of ICTPA, the way I see it, is that Pakistan is a market, it's a big market. Asia is a bigger market. And when we would be going cross country, we would start from our own countries where we are. And then when we would be taking it, maybe our services cross country, that's going to make it, for me, it's going to make it bigger. for Karunesh, for you, or you already go all around the world. So for you, it might not be the same because you already do that. But for me, it's going to be a big opportunity.
No,
Going
and it's an
into
opportunity also for collaboration where we are all small firms, right? So we are not going to have multiple people. And when next we talk about Bridget-all, I'll explain to you the model. But the reason I created Bridget-all was exactly the same thing, to be able to bring in professionals together to work together. So ICTPA, along with the work that we are doing, I think it gives us a lot of strength to work with like-minded people wherever there's a possibility.
Yeah.
Can I just say something? A couple of things that were mentioned there. One of the things that Karunesh just mentioned, which was sort of rang a bell with me, was we are all fairly lean, pardon the pun, lean and mean organisations. And one of the things I recognised earlier on, because we have been through a few country representatives there, is that the likes of Karunesh, Toosy, myself, and others that are involved all have they don't work for big corporates. Okay, so they have they have a great level of interest. Two, they have great drive to make this happen. Yeah. Three, they are able to be innovative because of their size. Yeah. And that's what kind of I've been trying to get to with the country representatives. The other thing I just want to make a point of about the ICTPA is, unlike the ACMP and the CMI, I consider change is everybody's responsibility.
Yes.
And you have people like LSS people, you have learning and development, you have OD people, you have all these different disciplines, but
digital transformation,
they are all involved in change.
Yes.
So my vision of the ICTPA is not just to have change managers, it's to have all this cross-section of people that are involved in some kind of change, either independently or in their own organization. Again, I rest my case.
Yep, that's right. And anything else before we actually, would you like, Karunesh or Ron, would you like to actually comment anything else? Yeah.
2 minutes. You asked me to do that, to spend 2 minutes on Bridget-all, the platform.
Yeah. You can spend more than 2 minutes, please, because that's something which I want people in Pakistan, because maybe most of the audience might be from Pakistan. So I actually want the people, the wider people of Pakistan who are into change management, into Lean Six Sigma, to actually see that there is an opportunity. They can connect with you. It's not only and they could actually. I've already shared on my thing. I've already shared your company website, both Change ETL and Bridge ETL.
I'm signed up on Bridge ETL.
Yes.
Okay.
So Bridget-all, I mean, I'll just tell you a very quick story about why I started this. So I come from, one is my Lean Six Sigma background, but the other one is also human resources. I spent many years working in head of HR roles across the world in different capacity. And what I'm seeing is there's a huge shift happening in the way talent is managed by the organization and the way people work on themselves. So a lot of professionals, after many years of work experience, are going solo. And in this gig economy, as we call it, a lot of people want to actually have the independence of being able to work when they want to work and where they want to work. And that's causing a very big shift in the whole talent economy itself. So a lot of people use the word open talent economy, which means that people who are experts, people like you and us, who are working together with big companies and providing the services that they are really, really, really good at. And that's what gig economy has done to the entire world, that a lot of good people are actually available to give their services to a much wider range of companies, and therefore they are good at that. So that's the expertise that they bring. So that's the first part of the story. When I started to think about that, I said, okay, there are a lot of people who are actually experts who are working on this. And since I run a change management consulting firm, I was constantly looking for change management professionals in different parts of the world to help me execute the projects that I was working with. So that was a trigger point for me to start looking at more and more consultants whom I could actually co-opt into my projects and work with them. And that triggered the idea that, okay, when I'm looking for somebody, I had somebody in mind to work with me in, let us say, London. By the time I reach out to the person is already taken up another role or another project, and he's not available or she is not available. So I said, I need to have a backup of the backup of the backup because people are not available. And that created a need for me to digitize and create a database of change professionals across the world. When I created that, I said, why should I confine it to change it all only? I could actually work with clients directly. And then it created a model where I work with clients. When they need a solution where I need to actually give them a solution, I work with Change It All. But if they're looking for just one project manager to work on something, they work through Bridge It All, and they just hire a freelancer any part of the world. So I've catered to people in Manila, to Amsterdam, to London, to India, to Singapore, where, and US, of course, where people are looking for a change management professional or HR person or talent person or a, very specific data scientist. They just request us, we post that role, people apply, and they match with the company, and they are hired directly. So it's a very simple and transparent model. I can see that now, if talking about Pakistan, I think Pakistan, I'm seeing more and more. I've used people, freelancers from there in the past. Asia, South Asia, which includes India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, has got very strong digital skills. And a lot of freelancers from there. And we are ICTP, we are using a web developer who's been, it's very kind of him to do the work along with us. And I really want to thank him for that, doing that. But that's the kind of skills we have available in these markets, which can be given more opportunities. And I think what we could do is to be able to provide the opportunities to the people where the talent is and connect them with the companies through our platform. So those who are watching this right now, Bridge It All is the name of the company. Toosy has already shared the link. You can log in there as an expert, register as an expert. And when you look at that and look at opportunities, there are opportunities which are on-site opportunities, but there are a lot of opportunities which are off-site, where you can work from home. And today's world, I think more and more people are being driven to work from home.
Yes, now we have to work from home anyways.
It's the big shift. It's the big shift in working arrangements. All of a sudden, people have realized they can work from home without degradation of any efficiency.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's actually, everything has
use this. Feel free to use this, and I'll be very happy to customize the requirements if we have opportunities in Pakistan for Pakistani people. We can certainly manage that also with help of Toosy, who's sitting right there in Lahore. So we can actually work together on this.
We're partners. We're partners anyways. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you. So, Ron, would you like to add anything? Before
I'm just going to give you. I'm going to do a quick plug as well for my my change management training.
Oh,
one of the things I've recognised, obviously, is that there is, as I said at the beginning of this session, there's still a heavy focus on technical skills. And one of the things I'm trying to do through my online training, remember, it's not face-to-face and it's one-to-one, is upskill people, project managers, people who just happened into change, through their job and stuff like that, and upskill them with change management skills. And Toosy, you've been through the process.
Yeah, I've been through the process. I have actually, I have gone through his whole training, and for me, it was really interesting. Sorry, Ron. Let me actually also explain to people my experience, and then you could actually talk about other people too. Is that what I learned from it, and I've been into change management since, and I've been studying change management since a long time now. I mean, starting from Surrey, and I've been a book reader, and the theory and practice of change I've taught that in 2011. that time it was the third edition of John Hayes. So I taught that in a uni for a year. So I've been into change management, talking about it, learning, and I constantly read. And the distinctive thing is what I wanted to find out, and I actually achieved my objectives, was how would, if someone's actually making a change management training, how would they form it, the structure? And the other thing was that it was really new for me, the one-to-one training. I mean, I've been into one-to-many. I've even done the online thing when you're actually just watching a video. I've done that training. I have done the classroom learning. I have done the, I would say, training hall or training facility learning. I wanted to see how that one-to-one over the internet goes. And I experienced that. And one thing which I have been propagating too is when you're one-to-one, you can talk your mind openly because no one's judging you over there and no one might be misunderstanding you. I mean, we had me and Ron had all type of weird which you would not have in a one-to-many training discussions.
Absolutely.
Because some people could have thought that, I mean, they're being prejudiced or they're being something like that. There could be something like that. But I mean, we talked about a lot of things, and that was the beauty of that training. And I strongly recommend people to take this training. I've taken it myself, and hopefully, once I have 1 or 2 sessions of my own Lean Six Sigma trainings, ICTP ones, I would love to actually maybe call you and have that training delivered because people in Pakistan are not that used to actually that one-to-one training. If one-to-one happens, it's great. But maybe we would like to have one-to-many trainings developed. You'll have to change it a bit, but that could be done. Something like that.
What you talk about the different exchanges we had, but the one thing I would say about what we talked about, it was all related to change. Yeah. It wasn't just random conversations.
No. It wasn't random conversations. It followed. Everything made sense. We never diverted from the core topic of change management. It's just that how much you stretch it.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to finish, I'm trying to upskill people. I've got a couple of delegates from Malaysia going through the process at the moment. I've got a possible from Azerbaijan. I've got a possible from Egypt and a few other places. So global reach. That's it. That's all I want to say.
Okay, Karunesh, any closing words or?
No, thank you very much. I enjoyed the discussion a lot. This was great to connect and do the discussion in this fashion. And because a big audience from on this will be from Pakistan, I must send my wishes to everybody and wish safe and all safety at this point of time. Yeah. When things open up, I would love to come over.
Karunesh, maybe a question. Karunesh, sorry, a question. And well, you already said you'd love to come. If when I'm delivering a training, would you actually come over and actually contribute? Would you like such a thing?
I would love to do that. And there are two motivations for me. Apart from, of course, working with you and the group there, is my long-standing desire to visit Lahore particularly. One, because I can speak Punjabi a little bit. I grew up in Chandigarh.
Yeah.
It is that I love food. I'm a big foodie, and I know that the food there is one of the best.
Yeah. And Ron, I have to actually forgive my Punjabi, but I have to say something. Jinne ne Lahore nahi vekhya aur jamiya hi nahi.
Perfect.
That means
that I need to be there.
Yeah, that means that's an old saying. I just said it in Punjabi, and that's an old saying that a person who hasn't seen Lahore hasn't born yet. That's actually it can be considered a racist statement, but that's the whole saying.
I have to come and visit then. Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully, inshallah, both of you. I would love both of you to come here.
Okay.
And see the culture, see the food places, and see around.
You never know when we do the ICTPA launch roadshow across the 14 different countries.
Wow, wow. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You never know.
You never know.
never
You
know.
never know.
You never know.
And I want people, especially with rich experience like you and Karunesh and Ron, to actually come over here and share experiences. I will be sharing my experiences, and that's how what I say, that I gain strength from the whole thing. Because I mean, when 12 people stand together in 12 different countries who have reasonable profiles, collectively they become very strong.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you said rich experience and not you old geezers.
Who said old is bad? Come on, Ron. Who said old is bad?
Yeah.
Old is just. I mean, in Asia,
hey.
old is means a wise man.
Exactly.
Yeah, in Asia, that's the difference.
That's why I don't colour my hair. Let it grow.
Yeah,
Let it grow.
and my dad never colours his hair.
I can't visit the hairdressers at the moment because they're all shut.
Ah, yeah, that's right.
I'm seeing all those problems, by the way, so I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Karunesh. Thank you, Ron. And
no worries.
I hope we'll actually do something similar some other time too. Maybe on some topic, we'll think of a topic and we'll do that. Okay, thank you. I'm going to end the broadcast.
Okay.
Or how do you leave?
I don't know.
Okay, end the broadcast. Okay, Karunesh has left. I've ended the broadcast.